Welcome to the Geek podcast, where Beej is back. I'm Void, and I'm here with my co-host, Beej. He's back.
Beej is back. All right. Dun, 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 dun,
Today we're talking about
Boys.
why you were gone. We're going to talk about travel. And I don't know if this is going to become a general travel episode. If it doesn't, I kind of suspect it won't. We will do that at a later date. Because mostly I want to hear about your trip. And we haven't talked about it because you got back literally last night.
Yep. I got back, about maybe 12 hours ago, I think. Getting in and just kind of crashing out and going to sleep and waking up this morning to talk about it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and both of us love travel, and we have travel histories and stuff. And like I said, I don't know if we're going to get to any of that today. We'll see what ends up happening. If not, I promise, a different episode later. But how was your trip? Where did you go? All I told people last episode was that you went to a hurricane, which wasn't entirely true.
Which wasn't entirely true. We went to Palm Beach, Florida. I have friends the friends who I wrote my book Nimbus with, he lives with his wife and daughters in Palm Beach, Florida, in North Palm Beach. And so we get a free trip down there. It's about a 15-hour drive, so it's not something that we can really do. It's not a weekend trip we can make, but we decided to take some time. I just started working full-time remote, so I was able to really just go down there and keep working, have a working vacation. Jennifer took off using a bunch of her vacation time. And so we just basically had this wonderful trip that was really kind of a celebration of me not having to freelance anymore. So we went through, we stayed with them. They have the most wonderful baby in the world. Like anyone else with a baby, your baby pales in comparison to this baby. And she's 16 months old and I love her. She's the only child I've ever met that at that age makes me want to have a baby, but I don't want to have a baby unless it is that baby. And so we keep saying that we're going to steal that child from them because they're expecting twins and they will never miss her.
Wow. Okay. I have some umbrage with general statements about children. But
no,
glossing over
she
that.
is my favorite kid, though. I really do love her, and being able to spend a week. She is the most chill child I've ever played with and been around. She is really a delight at that age, and just no trouble at all. It was such a wonderful trip. I'm gonna miss her, I think, more than I'm gonna miss my best friends.
Wow, that says a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to hang out with them, and mostly what I know from your trip, I knew what you were planning to do, and then over the course of it's been 2.5 weeks since we've recorded. Because we recorded early so that you could leave for the trip, and then last week I got to do an episode without you, which was very interesting, and I like how it turned out. But I'm very glad to have you back, and we have a ton of geekery and stuff. Mostly what I saw was 5 or 10 second snippets of video as you texted them to me, and it was just here's a little bit from Universal Studios, here's a little bit from Harry Potter, here's a little bit of me playing, I think you were playing Switch, 1-2, what's that game called, 1-2 Switch.
And I totally see starting out with 1-2 Switch, so let's do that. Because this was a very chill vacation, one of the things that we did was honestly just hang out at their house a lot. And since they're super geeks like we are, it just made Austin was able to get a Switch for $14. He was really lucky on a bunch of expenses that had to be paid on the Amazon Prime account that he has with the rewards card. So he was able to get $14 for Zelda Breath of the Wild and the Switch itself. He was super excited about this with all the rewards and stuff that he had been saving up. So part of the business he runs is an event company, an entertainment company at different hotels and different places around. And they have the Switch to do video game clubs with. And they have 1-2 Switch. So 1-2 Switch is exactly what you talked about during our Switch episode, where it is an absolutely fantastically fun tech demo. That the mini games are great. It reminds me so much of the Wii Play and Wii Sports that came with the Wii, and they're charging $60 for it. It is in no way worth a full game price unless you are running an event company where you have to have multiplayer games.
Okay. So that's why he has it, though. So that makes a lot of sense.
That's why he has it. They had it at the house, and so we popped it into the Switch. And so we did the team battle stuff where it's basically a Mario Party board where you go around and do random mini games to see who can win out of points and get to the end first. And It was so much fun that I know I sent you a video of me and my wife doing the dance off.
Yeah.
That is just absurd. That there are, the sword fighting game is super fun. That was one of my favorites. The wizard battle was a lot of fun. And then I learned if it were the Old West, I would get shot in a second because I always shot the ground on the quick draw. That I was not good at that. Like every time I shot the ground, I could not get the gun pointed at them to shoot, and just things like that. It was just fun to do because it was silly, and just a group of 30-year-olds playing 1-2 Switch really was awesome. But again, not worth the $60. Whenever it gets to be like one of the greatest hits where it's about 20, sure, yeah, pick it up. You're going to have fun with a group, even with 2 people, just to kill a little bit of time.
That's kind of what I expected from that game, but I'm more interested in... I thought that, okay, you've been interested in the Switch, but you hadn't actually had hands-on time with one, and now that you have, I think you may have come out of that convinced to get one.
I did, and I really want one right now. Okay. And what I was going to talk about next, actually, because have you played 1-2 Switch, like the full game of it?
No, I have it in my GameFly queue, so it'll show up here one of these days.
Right. So you and your family will have a great time playing it. Like, I really do think you're going to have a good time. And if you can continue to buy it for like the $20 thing, I could see you doing that. Just like, it's cheap, I'll pay for this. Yeah. Other than that, you'll send it back pretty quickly unless your kids really dig it. And so, yeah, this was the first time I had hands-on with it. So one of the things with 1-2 Switch is that, you know how you were talking about the marble counting game and stuff like that, where you can feel it, individual numbers of marbles that you move around, and it feels like a little box? Yep. It's absolutely true. It absolutely works. And I cannot tell how many marbles are in that box. That okay. It was still precise. It was still interesting how they did the motion controls on it, but it still didn't feel quite there. That it wasn't 100%, because it was there, but it was never like, I feel like if it were real marbles, I honestly would have been able to tell that just a little off of where they want it to be, but it's still fantastic. Like, it's one of those things, it's like you don't expect that out of a video game console.
But you're convinced now that you should get one.
Yes, and I want one. Jennifer wants one. Jennifer, at different times during the trip, stole the Switch, went into the room we were staying in, and just played Mario Kart by herself. That she didn't want to be around people. She just grabbed it off of the dock and went in there and started playing 200cc, trying to get trophies. It was awesome. Like, she loved it. Some days she was like, you want to go to the beach? And we went to the beach for a little while, and then we went back home, and I was like, what do you want to do now? She's like, kind of just want to lay on the couch and play Mario Kart. And so it's awesome that we were doing that. She was like, how much is the Switch? How much can you get out of the Wii U? And
there you go. You got some support now.
Yeah, I really do. The only problem is that the main game she wants to play is Mario Kart. We do have it on the Wii U right now. So today, after we get done with this, I've got the Wii U gamepad charging and everything so that we can try it and see, because we did not like the Wii U version. And I wonder, I was going to ask you if the Wii U version has the controls that keep you from running off of cliffs and things like that. Does it?
No. The Wii U version does not have that. So those controls that are like auto assist and like always accelerate and stuff like that, that's only on the Switch version. That
may be why we liked it so much better, because it took out that just slight frustration that came with Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U. So that may be a reason for us to really pick it up on the Switch, because we really loved it on it and really didn't want to play it very much on the Wii U. And I know, but it's kind of like we talked about before, that getting to the point where, yeah, it's kind of easy mode with the assist. You're running into playing bowling with the bumpers in the lanes, but if that makes it more fun for you, then do it. And so
it makes it a lot more approachable for like my kids too, which is nice.
Yeah, it does. And since it's the default on online play, I feel like that may be something that I actually don't feel bad about it because of that. Like, that's the reason. If everybody's forced to play with it when you do it online, then why not do that when you're playing against your family in the living room. So to me, I like those. We really liked it. And so we really want one. And I don't know if I'll get one before Christmas, because that's kind of the thing we're talking about right now, because we're moving into, I'm getting a 401k. I've got to start saving for retirement, paying some debts off now that there's consistent income. And we're going to have to balance that between and getting, frivolous stuff like a Switch before like major holidays and things like that, because I really do want to save the Wii U until I can get through the Zelda DLC. So
but you're on the path to Switch now.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
But you said, so like some days were Switch days, some days were ocean days. Didn't you tell me that like your dog hates the ocean?
Oh my God, my dog hates the ocean so much. And one of the main reasons that we brought her was because one of Jennifer's lifelong dreams, and I kid you not, is to have a dog running along the beach, jumping in the ocean and like frolicking. And and she just loves it. Like, she's a huge dog person, and she has made me into a huge dog person, because before Leia, I never had another dog. I never had a dog since I was like 4 years old. And so I'm in love. We wanted to play on the beach with this dog, kind of just great. So we found a dog beach, Void. We found a dog beach to take her to. She loves other dogs. She is literally the sweetest dog I've ever met. Like, I've never seen her do anything aggressive. As soon as you look at her, she like licks you and rolls over for her belly to be rubbed. Like, she's scared of our cat and tiny dogs, and like she won't pick up. We have her a Chewbacca chew toy, and she won't pick it up and play with it. That she loves it more than anything if it's sitting beside something, because she's afraid that something is going to get her. And so like this dog is so afraid of the ocean. Like, she loves the beach, she loves playing with other dogs, but she is so afraid to get in the surf, and she hates water. And so we couldn't get her. We couldn't get her in the pool. Like, we have a kiddie pool here that we tried to get her in. Like, she won't get in the pool because she doesn't like to step over things. Like, it's really weird because everything else is like perfectly normal. Like, she's a fun running around. Like, she's we don't know exactly what breed she is because she was a shelter dog, but we think she's like mostly golden retriever, maybe a little Australian shepherd, potentially like a very small amount of Brittany Spaniel because of the way some of her hair works. But like fully frolicking energy, everywhere. Like, before we started recording this, like, she just started bumping into the door to my office here just to make sure that I'm still alive here, and come in and had to hug me and say good morning. And then she ran right out, and it's perfectly good. Like, wonderful dog, afraid of water. And so she also apparently gets motion sick. So since it was a 15-hour drive, the vet gave us Valium for her, actually, because it soothes her stomach and kind of sedates. And so we did that, and we realized that the only one in our house without an anxiety prescription now is the cat. That even our dog has an anxiety prescription. And but like, it was so much fun to have her there. She made friends with their two little dogs, and it was just great. And a couple of times we went back to the dog beach to watch other people's dogs play, because it was really nice there too, and just left Leia at home. So we just left her to play with the other dogs that she liked, and then and not put her through playing at the ocean again. Like, Jennifer's dream did not come true.
Oh, well, you got close to it. At least you got like adjacent to the dream.
Yeah. It's true.
I honestly want to hear about Harry Potter, because you've been before, and now it's been a while, right?
It has been 7 years. It has been a little over 7 years since I went to Wizarding World of Harry Potter. So when we went in 2010, I was still over 300 pounds. I was mega fat, and everyone who's listening to this has heard this story. So, like, that's what made me go to start losing weight and all of this. And so I was really excited because we were going to be able to go down here, have a cheap trip, and afford to go to Universal and I could ride that roller coaster again, the one I thought I was going to die on, and fit in the fat guy seat on the Forbidden Journey, so that I would finally be able to ride it. And they closed down Dueling Dragons. which is the roller coaster I couldn't ride. So I closed down like 2 weeks ago. So I just barely missed the cutoff for being able to like have this closure like that. But I was able to fit in the fat guy seat on the Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey and get like, that was just luxurious. I'm like, this is so big. I'm so tiny now. And it was just like great. And so I at least had that vindication of myself. So we decided this time, because we'd already been to Hogsmeade, we'd already been to the original one that was in Universal Islands of Adventure, that we decided that we wanted to go to the new one that they had opened up a few years ago that was Diagon Alley. So we decided that we're going to stay in one of the resorts for a night. And I'll tell you about that in a minute whenever we circle back around. But we got early morning hours. Like, we stayed there because you get an hour in the park before anybody else can get in if you're staying in one of their resorts. Well, before the public can get in. So we get up at like 4:30, 5 a.m., get ready, have coffee, and go take the tram over to the Universal Park and get there while it's still dark. I'm not sure if I sent you a picture of the Universal gates before dawn.
You did,
but I made sure I took
one.
It because it looks like it's just nighttime. Like, I don't know why I did it, but I was like, I know that is before dawn. So once we go through that, we go in and we wait in line for them to actually open up the theme park gates, which is really cool. And as they open it up, the sun starts to rise. And it's us and maybe 20 other people who are in here. So we are literally the only 24 people in this park. And for a long time, Jennifer and I were walking around completely alone. Like,
That's awesome.
It's awesome. You feel like you're special. Honestly, I know that's why they do it. But if you get up and do that, it feels like we were the only two people walking through an entire theme park by ourselves, and it wasn't like we were cheating and going in, breaking in. Like, it was just great wandering through. So the sun is rising. We're wandering around, and we're heading, obviously, toward the Wizarding World. So we're heading toward Diagon Alley. So we walk through, and Universal is set up as you go through that there's a lot of cityscapes that they have, where little areas that are like Hollywood, little areas like Chicago and things like that, and San Francisco. And they now have the new London one. Go figure. And so we're wandering, and we don't know where the park is. Like, we don't know where Diagon Alley is. We just know it's in London. And so I just kind of look over, and I see this kind of cool corner, and I like exploring. Like, in real life, as much as I do in video games, if I see some kind of corner that I want to go into, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go over here and see what's here and see if there's something I can jump on. Literally, I jump on things and explore in real life like I'm Link in the Breath of the Wild. And so I go over there, and I'm like, oh my God, I found Diagon Alley. Jennifer, come here. And so we walk in, the sun is rising, and we are one of the first 2 or 3 people in Diagon Alley. Like, I go around this corner, the brick wall is open, and suddenly I just see Diagon Alley like it's from the movie, with this dragon up above. There are wizards and witches in costume just all around doing their greeting thing as you walk in. And because there were no other tourists there was no one else here, we felt so magical that it really was like the original time we walked into Hogsmeade before, where you're overwhelmed by that sense of awe that you've seen these in the movies, you've read these in the book, you've read about these in the books, and it's just, you see it and it's like you are there. That immediately, people were in costume and in character, and no one else was around. So we were able to walk around, go in stores by ourselves without the massive amounts of tourists around, and it felt wonderful. And just going into the Weasley's Wizarding Wheezes joke shop and buying stuff. And just looking at all their jokes that you find, they had the I don't remember what they're called now. The big the little critters that puff up and grow, and I can't remember. They have big stuffed ones like that when a kid buys one, they yell from the counter for people to applaud and clap for them, and with their name that they name them. It was so cute and wonderful.
That's awesome. Just, I don't know, the whole thing just sounds really cool. I want to go do this someday.
It is truly magical, and I really do suggest that you get in before anyone else, because once you get there when everybody is there, like at noon, 10 or noonish, it starts to feel more like a theme park.
Sure,
like, you know,
it would.
Yeah, it would. Of course it does. But in those early hours, we had 2 hours in Diagon Alley where no one else was there. It was just normal people. Like, people were wandering the streets. It was like when Harry Potter and all of them were going for the very first time to get their wands and their robes, that there were just people milling about. That's what it felt like. And it truly, like, I can't stress enough how magical this felt. That just, I didn't care anything about the interactive wands that you could buy. Like, there are spots that you can interact with the world with this interactive wand to be able to make stuff happen. It was fun watching other people do that. Like, I didn't have to spend $80 on a wand to make some animatronics go, but watching other people make water squirt out of a fountain or start the drinking fountain by pointing their wand at it, that was cool. Like,
oh, man, my kids would eat that up. Like, my wife would
ate it
that.
up. Like,
yeah.
Kids ate it up, and middle-aged women ate it up. Like, there were like 50, 60-year-old women there with their families and grandparents. And like, there was this one woman who you could see was struggling with it, that we were there, and she was having this really hard time. And then she got it, and she literally jumped up and down and yelled, "I did it! I got it to work! I did it!" And it was just heartwarming because it was pure joy. It was that moment of something coming alive that they loved as a family, and it was magic. Like, it really was, that they used this wand to do this, and I love watching that kind of stuff. And so it was super great. Like, everything about it was great. The Universal is going kind of all in on motion rides with 3D movies in them, and that aren't traditional roller coasters, which I totally get because they're cheaper to produce. They don't have the safety issues that roller coasters do. They don't have the infrastructure and the space issues. They can have more attractions. So that's what the Gringotts and Forbidden Journey, the one that takes you through Hogwarts, you go through Gringotts Bank in one and you go through Hogwarts in the other. And they're motion rides, but they are super fun. Like, you still move around, you like get turned upside down in it and stuff like that, but it's still mostly the actual content of that ride is like projection and a movie going around, but it works. Like, it totally works. And it is so much fun. They have an ice cream shop that you can get butterbeer ice cream. They have a money changer where you can get Gringotts banknotes to spend in Universal, which I did just to go buy ice cream. I went through, we had we went through, we had the goblin talk to us, do things like that, and we got money and then went and bought ice cream with it. And since it broke in smaller things, they had to give us back Muggle money to do it because they didn't have. I mean, they only came in 10s and 20s, and we paid like $16 for ice cream for the two of us. So, I mean, still, theme park prices. Yeah, it's still fun. I was like, hey, here's my Gringotts notes. And so it's super fun. Butterbeer fudge is so good. So good. And the butterbeer soda is exactly as delicious as I remember it being. Like, I don't drink full sugared sodas anymore. They're disgusting to me just because of texture, because I've gotten so out of drinking them that they feel really thick in my mouth. But butterbeer is the most wonderful drink in the world because it's like a butterscotch cream soda with a layer of really thick vanilla foam on top. And I've never had it replicated. Any of the recipes I found online do not replicate butterbeer. And in 7 years, I'd forgotten how, I knew it was delicious, but I'd forgotten how delicious it was.
Wow. That's so cool. So was Harry Potter the only thing you did? Like, no. In Universal, or did you do more?
So we did both parks in one day.
Okay.
We're really glad that we didn't pay for more than 1 day on our tickets because we did everything we wanted to do in 1 day. Now, it was a long day. We were there from park open to park close. We were there for, I think, 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
But we did literally everything we wanted to do. And the Jennifer fell asleep at one point. Like, we were wandering around, like, Jennifer just crashed. And I was tired. Like, I get tired, and I can sit down for a bit, and I'm okay. Jennifer really needed to recharge. So we went and we grabbed some butterbeer, we grabbed some water, and we found this corner about halfway through the day, maybe at 1 or 2 o'clock. We found this corner in Diagon Alley where Jennifer laid out on the floor in an alley in Diagon Alley and took a nap. That like just fell straight asleep. I can send you the picture of it. I made sure I took a picture where she was just asleep on the ground in a theme park. And so for about 30 minutes, she had a power nap. I sat there, messed around on my phone, did a little bit of work, just stuff like that. And it was so funny because I sent our friends a picture and that was just like, oh, poor little thing's tuckered out. And but we got so tired doing this, like we ate and it was just like, oh, let's go sit down and relax. And then we had our burst of energy and went on. And so as we did the parks, it took us maybe 2.5 hours to do everything in Wizarding World that we wanted to do because we had done the other one before. Most of it was spent in Diagon Alley and the new one. And then we did pretty much everything. We rode the Hogwarts Express, which they do a before, like a to Hogsmeade and from Hogsmeade show. So as you're in there riding the train, you're actually moving between parks on a train, but you're in the Hogwarts Express train, and all of the walls, you have a window that shows you the trip from Hogwarts to King's Cross, and then you have the one back going that way, and you hear Harry and Hermione and Ron outside getting things off the cart, and you can see their shadows move toward because of the door having a screen in it. And then it's magical. Kids love it. And and as you go in from the King's Cross side, you see yourself just walking through a door, but they have a screen set up that's through a luggage cart that everyone watching you makes it look like you're just fading in through a brick wall. It looks so cool.
That's awesome.
So you see other people doing this, but I mean, there's no real way to make you look like you're going through it, but you still get that illusion of going through the brick wall into King's Cross onto platform 9 3/4. And you actually go from King's Cross Station into platform 9 3/4. Like there is another area you go into before you board the train. And it's really cool that way too. So we did all of this, and then we go to Universal, we go back to Islands of Adventure, we kind of go back and forth, and we ride the Hulk coaster, which is still a fantastic roller coaster. If you love roller coasters, the Hulk is one of the best. There's one that they call like the Rip Ride Rocket that's near it that lets you pick a song to listen to that has speakers right around your head, and you're only strapped in on a waist. It has a belt, like a big waist harness. Like all it is a strap across your waist, just this big heavy duty thing, and your entire rest of your body is free. And it is one of the most intense coasters I've ever had. And it takes a video of you as you do it. Like there's a camera right in front of you. I didn't notice. And I am an ugly roller coaster rider. I looked terrified the entire time. It was so funny, and you can buy the videos. It's really fun, but we didn't. They're super expensive. And so we go do that kind of stuff. We go through the superhero stuff, which we'd done before. And then we go to the Simpsons area at the end of it. The Simpsons area feels like you're in Springfield. They have done such a good job with the Springfield area because it is every bit as awesome, and every bit you feel like you're there every bit as much as you do in Wizarding World, as long as you're in one of the buildings. Like they have Moe's Tavern, which really does feel like Moe's Tavern. They have Krusty Land, which is one of the rides that's fun. They have it's like they did such a good job on making it feel like this. You can even get the giant pink donuts from Lard Lad Donuts in the gift shop. That we didn't get one because we'd already had donuts and a lot of sweets that day. But man, that would have been so good. Like I loved it.
I want a giant donut. Yeah, it does sound good.
It's like the size of a small pizza at most places. That it's like a good 12-inch donut with the pink sauce, with the pink glaze on top of it with sprinkles that you see on all the Simpsons stuff. And I saw people eating it, and I wanted to go over and be like, can I have a bite of your donut? And what surprised us, though, was that the Simpsons and E.T. area had the best merchandise because the Harry Potter stuff just felt so bland. And I say bland in the best way possible, because if you love Harry Potter, it's all in character and in Harry Potter. But for Jennifer and me, all I want to do is get like a fun t-shirt, like something that's really weird. Like they have Simpsons stuff that's super like punny, and they have like an E.T. t-shirt that says it's all good in the hood with E.T. in his hoodie. But Harry Potter is just like, you can buy something with a Gryffindor crest, and there's no like whimsy to any of it there. And so that's the only thing I didn't like about Wizarding World, is that I feel like they didn't take advantage of the merchandise, because I didn't want to buy any of it because it was all so in world. And even at the gift shops, like in resorts and stuff, they didn't have any that you could buy that was outside of that. And so The Simpsons was great. I saw that they're having a Fast and the Furious attraction soon, and it wasn't ready yet, and I got so mad.
Oh no,
that
you
I'm
love
like,
Fast and Furious.
I love it so much, and I want to be Vin Diesel. I want to drive a car really fast, and I can't. Like, it's gonna next time I go to Florida, or at least next time I go to these theme parks, I have to ride the Fast and the Furious ride. Like, it would make me so happy as a human being. And then one of our other favorite things in Universal was Men in Black. That I'd ridden this before and had forgotten about it. But Men in Black, weirdly enough, became one of my favorite attractions there, because it's like a live-action video game. You get on this cart, and you're riding through the attraction, you're riding through the ride, and you have a gun, and it keeps score because you're attacking aliens, like you're shooting aliens with this infrared gun. And because I'm good at video games, because I'm used to this, I immediately catch on to the mechanics of this, because you have to shoot them a certain amount, and then you can feel it in the gun, and it flashes, and then sometimes you do that, sometimes you can see it in the world, like they'll make the aliens fall down and reset and make a noise. And so at one point, you find out that the people who are riding the cart beside you are actually the aliens. You have to shoot their cart and disrupt their game as they're going through, so they can't get as many points. And at the end of it, you tally up your points, and it on average tells you which team did better, and if you become a Men in Black agent. I won both times we did this.
Nice.
I trounced everybody, of course. And the first one, and I'm pretty sure I did the second one too, I had more score than everybody else on the ride combined, because I counted. And
wow.
They had like 20 to 50,000 each, and I had like 300,000 each. I had 300,000 myself, because I figured this out. I was like, it's a video game, I know this. Well, Jennifer didn't do well, and she was like, how did you do that? And I'm like, play video games. And she's like, let's ride this again right now. So she doubled her score the next time once I told her, what I'd figured out. And I did right at the same, but my team won both times, like by almost double the amount of points as the other team both times. So I'm like, oh yeah, that was all me. MIB, yeah, because like Will Smith is my boy, and like I've been dancing to that since like the 90s, and I'm like, yeah. And so super awesome. The Men in Black ride was a great way to end the day, because it was like low impact and playing video games at a theme park. Super awesome.
Cool. It sounds like you had a really good trip.
I did. And then the night before, playing video games at an amusement park, like we stayed at the resort that night. We got the cheap resort. It was cheaper than most hotels that I've stayed in recently. And we realized that we just kind of wanted to hang out. We didn't want to do anything. Jennifer and I love spending time together, and like we are besties. And so we went through and we found an arcade. And so we did like the Jurassic Park shooting ride. We played a couple of rounds of skee ball, and then we found Fruit Ninja. So I know Fruit Ninja's old hat, like early iOS game. Everybody's played Fruit Ninja. But when you're playing Fruit Ninja with your wife on a 50-inch touchscreen, or maybe 40-inch touchscreen, whatever this is, it is so much fun to just ninja away fruit, like slapping at the TV with both hands, like moving around. Like we spent an hour and a half just playing Fruit Ninja to earn tickets to buy things. Then after we didn't want to spend a lot of money in there, so we played Fruit Ninja a lot. And then we used our tickets to buy an eyeball splat ball. And we were those people in the hotel room, because it's a good 9 o'clock at night at this point. And we what it is this sticky, weird toy for kids.
Oh, I know what it is. I remember.
Okay, you know what a splat ball is then.
Oh, yeah.
So for those of you who don't, it's like a liquid-filled sticky ball that you can throw at the wall, and it will stick and just splat out like goo. And so we're throwing this as hard as we can at every wall in our hotel room. And like we find out that it sticks best to the door, not the drywall, the painted drywall and stuff. And then we find out that the absolute best place to do it is the shower tiles in the bathroom. So we're standing with the door to the bathroom wide open, standing on the far edge as far as we can get from it, and just hurling this splat ball into the shower, laughing like total goobers, and having so much fun because we won an eyeball playing Fruit Ninja. And like everybody around us, just every like few seconds, just hears thud, thud, thud. Like it was, they had to think we had kids or teenagers, and it was just like a couple of mid-30s goobers, and like it was so much fun. And I got a candy necklace. Like I love candy necklaces, and so at this arcade, I got a splat ball and a candy necklace. I was so upset because I had to wear it like a bracelet because I'm an adult and it doesn't fit over my head.
Oh, no.
They need to make candy necklaces for adults.
Tragic.
But I had a candy bracelet, and I ate it, and it was delicious. It was delicious in that terrible way.
Well, I'm glad that you had a good trip. Any other parting thoughts on the trip before we get into Geekery?
Well, that's mostly Geekery. So, I cannot recommend enough you going down there, because this really did feel like a geeky vacation, even though it wasn't, just because of spending time in Diagon Alley. And it was so hard to leave. At the very end of the day, we were like, they closed at 7, and we still had a 2.5 hour drive back to Palm Beach, so we didn't have to pay for another hotel, and we still had to eat dinner. Oh, I forgot to tell you about dinner. So, and this is cool and geeky too. So we decided to leave the park at 5 o'clock. We ride the Simpsons ride and the Men in Black ride at the very end, and we decide, let's just go ahead and go. We don't need to do anything. So we were going to exit. We needed to go back by Wizarding World into Diagon Alley and get more butterbeer for me to drink, and then leave. So we went through, but we got caught up doing everything again, like going and wandering through the shops. So we spent another 2 hours in there just hanging out in the shops, wandering around, because it's so hard to leave, because it's so magical. And it was just awesome that it was hard to leave. And I was actually wearing a BioShock Infinite shirt that I have. It's like a Songbird propaganda poster. And I counted all day long. I counted, and it was 10 individual people who called me out on my shirt and had conversations with me about it. Like, just walking through the park, and one or two of them were in the Wizarding World. And I said, as I was standing in line, one of the ladies was named Elizabeth, and she said, I saw your shirt, and all I wanted to do, like I really should, just yelled out, "Booker, catch!" And like it was so fun. And one guy had a BioShock Infinite keychain that came in a loot crate, and he was like, "I love that game, man." And it's just like this totally geeky thing where it's not like you and I were talking about a long time ago. We don't like wearing like overtly geeky t-shirts where it's like, like the old school gamer or something like that, where it's just got a picture of an NES controller on it. That's just not your and my thing. But right. We wear one that kind of represents what we love, but kind of low key about it. Just like, here's a shirt I like. And so it's that style of propaganda poster. I really liked it. It's an art style that I like anyway. Like, it's the kind of stuff I want hanging on my walls. So like, yeah, I'll get this shirt for $3 at a thrift store. And I just had conversations about BioShock in the middle of Wizarding World with people. Like, it was totally crazy.
That's very cool.
So like didn't intend it to be like, we did not set out for this to be like this super nerdy, like any more than going and like spending hours and hours like pretending you're a wizard in Diagon Alley is. But I didn't expect it to be an overtly video gamey nerdy trip, but it really did turn out to be overall.
Good. I'm glad that it went so well. It sounds like you had a great time.
It was magnificent, and I'm so sad I'm at home. I'm glad to be back home, but I'm also super sad to be back home because I miss my friends and the baby already.
It's understandable. Okay, well, thank you for recapping. I really wanted to hear about it, so I'm glad that you got to share and everybody else got to hear at the same time that I got to hear. Let's get into the geeky offer of the week. This week, we have Audible you can go to audibletrial.com/geek2geekcast like normal and get a book on us. And it helps the podcast, and you guys get a free book. It's awesome. This week, I'm going to recommend Phasma because, well, here's the thing. I'm not recommending it for the quality of this book. I'm recommending it because there have been a couple times where, like, I'm reading a book, and I want to have finished the book, and I have trouble just, like, reading it for whatever reason. It's just not clicking with me. And this happened with, like, some of the later Game of Thrones books. It was kind of happening to me with Phasma. So I jumped over and I grabbed the Audible version and I just started listening, and then I can like keep making progress even though I don't particularly want to sit down and read the book. So I'm recommending Audible not for Phasma, but for books that you may have gotten like kind of stuck on that you want to finish, but you just can't make yourself get back to reading. That's what I'm recommending this week. Go to audible.com/geek2geekcast, get it for free. Whatever book you're stuck on that you want to finish, but you don't want to read anymore, you can just listen to it.
I'm actually going to do that with Arcanum Unbounded because I have the audio for it, but I'm having a hard time getting through the Stormlight Archive novella Edge Dancer. I'm going to listen to it, I believe, because it'll be easier for me to get through. So yeah, do that, folks.
Do that. It's awesome. I should also say before we get into Geekery, I was on the Geektitude podcast with Joe the other week. We talked all about the Adventure Zone because I love the Adventure Zone, and so does he. And I found out that I'm the one who got him hooked on it. I didn't know that, but it's pretty cool. So we got to talk all about it and the finale and like the whole big campaign arc that took like 3 years that they just wrapped up. If you want to hear about that, go listen to Geektitude from last week-ish. It'll be there. It's in the feed, in the podcast feed. And with that, it's time for Weekly Geekery, where we share what we've been geeking out about this week. You should continue, because this is kind of like part of your story. You basically said, well, from what you told me, where you were staying, your friend had Kingdom Hearts, and it got you back into Kingdom Hearts? Is that a good summary?
Very, very much. Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So Austin and I have always loved watching each other play video games. Like, since we became buddies, we've always been at one of each other's house watching the other one play. Like, I was watching him play The Last of Us, and then he would come over and I would watch it. He would watch me play BioShock Infinite, just this kind of thing. So he was over there, and he was working his way through Kingdom Hearts 2.8 on the PlayStation, and he was finishing up Dream Drop Distance, the remaster of it. That's the main game in 2.8, and it also has the Birth by Sleep 0.2, a fragmentary passage game in it, which is kind of a bridge between all of the rest of the Kingdom Hearts games and Kingdom Hearts 3. And so watching him play I watched him play a lot of the end of Dream Drop Distance, and it's definitely going to be something that I pick up after I finish some of the others, which I'll get to in a second, because I didn't like it on the 3DS. Like, the controls were just a little off for me with the dual screen. You and I have talked about how we kind of hate the dual screen stuff, and it just didn't work for me on the 3DS, but it looks super cool on the PS4. Like, they've done a really great job of updating the graphics, and the combat system looks really fun. So even though he got really frustrated at a lot of it because he was on like the very last series of bosses. So I watched him beat Dream Drop Distance. And then when he did that, he moved into Birth by Sleep 0.2. Or no, it's Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep 0.2, a fragmentary passage, I think is the full thing. So he was playing through this.
They have the stupidest names. It's so bad.
It is so bad. But have you played this? Have you played the Birth by Sleep?
So I played
fragmentary.
This is actually one of the games that came up in my GameFly queue lately, and I tried everything in one night, and I was just like, this is all gobbledygook at this point. Like, all of it is so tangential to the main series, and I just don't care. Like, I tried, and I just could not find any ounce of interest in me about it. And I think I'm realizing that for Kingdom Hearts, for me, I either need to just go back and play 1 and 2 because I have good memories of those and I like them, or I should just not touch it until 3, because anything else seems to just make me be like, yeah, maybe I don't like Kingdom Hearts.
See, and I'm kind of the opposite, because I thought I was that way. And you are absolutely right that it's gobbledygook. It is complete and total gibberish for the most part. But watching him play the end of these games, and since he has played all of them on the 1.5, 2.5, and 2.8 remixes. Now, I'm watched all of the extra cutscenes. Like, he is totally all in on Kingdom Hearts story right now. he explained it to me, and it makes more sense than it does if you're jumping through the story, kind of like you were just going into a game like that. It still makes, where that makes 0 sense, the story in general out of 10 makes 2 cents. Like 0 out of 10, the overall story makes 2. Like, okay. You're at 0, it makes 2. Like, it does not make sense. The thing is, though, it's interesting enough because it's weird that I want to keep playing it to see how this kind of Xehanort saga plays out, because I've played enough of the others to see these characters, and I kind of want to see how it all ends up, even though it does not make sense. So I read a recap yesterday on the way home. I found this really long recap on the internet. So I read it, and again, even chronologically, does not make sense.
No, I've done that too. I've read like giant recaps that are like, here, if you need a crash course, here's like, this is going to take you an hour and a half to read. This is the crash course. Try to keep up. And then you finish it, and it's like, this made no sense.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this guy's putting a fragment of his heart in this guy, and then his heart got ripped out, and so this made a nobody and a heartless, but because he had the fragment of the other heart, it let him stay not
No. Just stop.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff they're doing. But what I thought was really cool about this, like, the gameplay all of a sudden looked really cool again. I loved seeing some of the Disney areas, and I remembered how much fun I had just playing through it, like, just doing it, just like Jennifer says, the smashy, and just seeing all the Disney stuff. That's cool. I love that. I know people have said before, if I don't like anime, why in the world do I like Kingdom Hearts? Because it's an anime story, super anime story. I'm just there to see basically what happens and who Sora is in the end. That said, Birth by Sleep 0.2, I hope you beat it, because I didn't get to see the ending of it, but it is essentially a tech demo for Kingdom Hearts 3. It uses the Kingdom Hearts 3 engine, and holy crap, is it beautiful. Like holy cow, is it beautiful. Like it
looked good, but I got really bored of it.
It's super short. Like, he played it trying to do all the objectives, and he beat it in 4 hours. Like, it turns out he was about 15 minutes from the end of it when I left. So he beat it that morning, right after I left. So I didn't get to see the very end of it. So I'm gonna look it up on the internet. But I also really like Aqua and the characters from Birth by Sleep. Like, they're pretty cool. Because they're basically just Sora, Riku, and Kairi again. They're like because it's a prequel, they're just these 3 buddies who like each other and want to help each other. So I like that kind of thing. And because I couldn't play a Kingdom Hearts game while I was there, I downloaded Union Key Cross, the iOS game, on my phone and have been playing it. And it is just enough better than Final Fantasy Record Keeper. It's kind of that kind of game where you get different, you make your own avatar, you can do whatever you want to with them, and you collect costumes and make them look like that. You get really cool keyblades so that you look neat, and you collect different characters and with different art styles and abilities to basically go kill all the Heartless in these levels and these quests. But you can actually explore through them. Like, you don't just stand there and do anything. Like, there are different parts of the map that you can explore. There are just different areas you can go around, and that keeps it a little bit interesting for me. No idea how long I'll be playing this, but right now I'm kind of interested in it because apparently it has a nugget of story that goes through, so it's actually part of the story, which is super weird. But I want to see what happens. I also want to see how all of the Disney stuff ties in. I'm really a Disney nerd, so I liked it. It's super fun. I'm playing it right now. I'm connected on there with Facebook, and apparently one of my old colleagues at Martin, at the college I taught at, they have 2 separate Facebook accounts for this game and have gone through level 621 and have these 2 different maxed out characters on there, and I did not know that this person was that into Kingdom Hearts, and that's awesome to me that I see this and their avatar looks super cool. They have all this stuff, and I'm like, man, you love you some Kingdom Hearts. And this wasn't a student. This was a PhD math professor who I knew was super geeky, but I didn't know was that super geeky. Just made me super, super, super happy. And So I'm playing that, and right now, like, I don't know how long it's going to last, but right now, as of this recording, they're doing like this super mega ultra promotion where if you log in, you get like lots of amounts, like free purchasable currency. So I was able to buy a bunch of packs of the medals that you can do, and already have a lot of the abilities without having to go through that really terrible mobile game like build up. So I started out being able to straight up have fun without doing the really dumb microtransaction grind, because they gave a bunch of stuff away at the beginning, which has made it a much more pleasant experience. Yeah, it's super fun now. I probably would have hated it if I just kept having these like 1-star things and unable to beat some of the levels. But because I started out being able to buy some of the packs that they gave with higher level stuff, makes it more fun. And so I really like that. So I'm going through playing that just on my phone, here and there. It was good on the drive home. Playing it while Austin played Birth by Sleep and the other Kingdom Hearts games, like for me to be able to smash some Heartless on my phone while I watched him do it on the TV. Cool. So I came home and I charged my Vita last night to try out PS4 Remote Play, which I hadn't set up before. And I know you've talked to me about it a little bit, but do you use that very often?
Not very often. Most of the time where I could be doing remote play, I could just be playing it on my PS4. Like, okay, I don't know. It's very dependent on the game. Some games work really well with it, and some games just don't.
I looked it up to see how the Kingdom Hearts remake does, the collection, the 1.5 plus 2.5 final mix or whatever it is. Apparently it works really well on there, people said. So I set it up this morning, and they're right. It really does. And especially because you don't need the R2, L3, and all that buttons that much in this one. The L2, R2, L3, and R3. Since they're mapped to the touchscreen on front by default, you don't use them that much. So it just plays like a normal Kingdom Hearts game on there. And so I'll be able to play through some of these while Jennifer's like watching Dr. Pimple Popper videos I can use the PS3 for that and do the remote play on the PS4. So that's really cool. Like, I'm super excited to play through these again. And I loved watching her play through Kingdom Hearts 1 on the PS2. So I'm really hoping that she'll grab either Rechains of Memories or Kingdom Hearts 2, which is probably the better choice, and jump through it, and I'll be able to watch her play it. So I love watching Kingdom Hearts games. Apparently I really do, because I watched her play the first one, and now Austin's, and I'm just like, I love Kingdom Hearts. Like, I'm super into it right now. I think I do. Like, I really love Disney.
Well, you said and that's the only Disney Afternoon collection also, right?
Yeah.
You're just in a Disney mode lately.
I really am. And like, I thought last night as I went to sleep, I was like, I need to watch Finding Dory. I haven't seen that yet. But I bought the Disney Afternoon collection on PS4 because they had a flash sale this weekend that I got an email about, and they had it for like $7 or $8. And Jennifer and I went as Darkwing Duck and Launchpad for Halloween a few years ago. So it had the original NES Darkwing Duck game, which you can't get anywhere else, I don't think, right now. So it has like DuckTales 2, I think Darkwing Duck, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and Tailspin on it. So stuff I remember playing as a kid, and a game I've never played before that we were pretty sure we would like, just messing around and playing with each other, that was worth it. And also, Austin convinced me to buy Sword Art Online Hollow Fragment, which is almost as bad as a Kingdom Hearts game title, because I loved the first episode of the TV show, and he watched the first season and really enjoyed it too. So we're kind of lined up on knowing what each other likes on video games and TV. And so it was $5 on the PS4, and it had really good reviews. He said it goes through the first season's narrative of the anime. And so if it's a good game and goes through a story that I already knew I liked for $5, why not?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
cool.
So that's my last couple of weeks. I think that's about it. Oh, there was also a Knockturn Alley part of Harry Potter, of Diagon Alley, that you have to just find. There's like a dark alley that you can go through, and there's an entire other part that I found while exploring. So there's that too.
Sweet.
It was cool. It was creepy. Like, I actually got scared. There's one thing, you can look in a door with a little window on it, and it blows air through the doorknob at you. And I jumped and screamed. And it scared me so bad. It was so much fun. I laughed, like, it was great. But yeah, that was my last couple of weeks.
I have been doing a bunch of stuff, and I'm looking at the amount of it and where we're at for time. I'm gonna gloss over some of this, even though like some of these things could probably become episodes if I wanted to dive super deep.
Yeah, it's looking like they could.
So I watched the Twilight Imperium 4th edition documentary that the Shut Up and Sit Down guys did, and it's a really, really cool look behind the scenes at like making a board game. And it's basically like Twilight Imperium. Do you know that game?
I've seen it, but I've never played it. It's one of those I've heard a lot of people talking about. Like, isn't it the super long one that can take like days to play?
So they say like if you have an expert group of players, you can maybe get through it in 6 hours. If it's your first time playing it, then you want to set aside a weekend because it will probably go across 2 days to finish it. And they say that average playtime, if you have a couple people who know what they're doing, is probably like 8 hours. So it's a really long time. I've never played this game, but I've always been interested in it. So whenever there's like information about it, I always take a look. And this was about them moving from the 3rd edition to the 4th edition and like kind of where they initially started and what they thought the box would look like for 4th edition and then where they ended up. And it's just a fascinating look at like the process. So if you're interested in a little bit of behind the scenes process and thinking that goes into board games, check out the Twilight Imperium 4th edition documentary. If you just look for it on Shut Up and Sit Down, it'll pop up. I watched a bunch of other stuff too while you were gone. I watched Wonder Woman, and outside of it kind of abusing slow-mo a little too much for my taste, I thought it was pretty good. I still like a lot of the Marvel movies better, but in terms of the DC movies, it is the best thing that they've done since the Nolan Batman, easily.
Yeah, it's super good, and it's one that outside of the super Zack Snyder ending that they do that really feels kind of tacked on with the like main boss fight. I really liked it. The slow-mo didn't bother me as much because I'm not as tuned in to production as you are. And I know that's why it bothered you so much.
It got really annoying.
I mean, I noticed it, but I didn't care. And some movies really do abuse it too much for me, and I think this one just kind of hit that line of this is a stylistic choice. This isn't a lack of filmmaking ability, but I totally understand that.
Now, there were times they used it and it was effective, and then there were times I was like, oh, we're in slow-mo again. Okay. But anyway, I liked Wonder Woman overall. It was good. Like, if another one came out, I'd definitely watch it for sure. I watched The Mummy, the new one, the Tom Cruise one.
I'm so sorry.
My wife and I saw a trailer for it and we're like, that has to be horrible. So we watched it together and we made fun of the whole thing, which made it fun because like that's the only way I can watch movies like that. But in terms of the quality of that movie, it is bad. It is super, super predictable. And it is a really weird genre mix. It's kind of half trying to be a horror movie and half trying to be an action movie. And it's not actually either one of them, but it's like, when you have Tom Cruise has to like run around and do action, you know?
And I've seen, that's what the trailers look like to me. Like sometimes they were really low key horror and other times it was like over the top action, which is why I never saw it. And
it's probably
really
not
funny
worth your
because
time.
Well, I don't think it is, honestly. And they were betting a lot on this movie. I don't know how much you followed the production of it.
Part of the problem with the movie is that they bet so much on it because it was supposed to be the launch of their like dark universe for Paramount
dark
or
universe,
Universal,
like the dark cinematic
yeah, and it's supposed to tie in, you know, like Frankenstein and vampires and mummies.
Yep,
and
like the old Universal
like
movie,
everything
monster
they have
movies.
rights to. Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, it does that, but that makes the movie worse also. And more predictable in ways. Like, I don't know. It was just bad.
And it's super funny because I actually rode the Mummy ride at Universal. And that's one of the things that I was thinking about when you were talking about this, is the Mummy ride is fantastic. It's a few years old, and it's Brendan Fraser Mummy.
Oh, yeah. Well, that one's good.
That was good. But then you go, like, through it, and, like, it's all set up in the gift shop. Like, there's so much Tom Cruise Mummy memorabilia, and, like you can see that they were betting on this. Like they made lots of merchandise for you to buy because they wanted this to be like the next big thing to build in. And like they were going to capitalize on this. It bombed and it just looks sad in that gift shop now because it was like, oh, you guys tried. I'm proud of you for trying. I'm sad because I liked the original movie so much.
So another movie that tried and failed is Arthur, Legend of the Sword. I didn't even make it.
I don't think I've heard of this.
It's the King Arthur movie that came out this summer. Like, this summer was not good for box office in general.
No.
And Hollywood has said that, and like they're feeling the pain at the moment. But I also think part of it is that they're finally learning to use the entire calendar year. Like, we're getting the Thor movie that I'm actually excited for in the fall, and we're getting Star Wars in the winter. Like, you know,
dude, I totally forgot about Thor Ragnarok.
Well, yeah, because they're actually learning to use the entire year instead of trying to do everything in the summer. But I think this is the first summer that it truly showed in the box office, because like there wasn't a lot of good stuff this summer. Arthur Legend of the Sword is one of those movies that came out, and it was what's the guy? Guy Ritchie. That like people really like Guy Ritchie stuff. I don't know him that well.
I like 2 Guy Ritchie movies and don't like any of his others.
Okay.
Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels are fantastic. The Sherlock Holmes games, meh.
Yeah, so this is one of his movies, and I don't know, it just doesn't work. Like, it's bad, and it's like the generic fantasy setting to the point where it's like, haven't we moved beyond this? You know, aren't we ready for like some nuance in our fantasy? Like, we live in a post Game of Thrones world. You can't just do King Arthur, reboot it again. Like, this is bad. So it wasn't good. Don't waste your time on it. The one thing I watched that was really good, I think, this is weird. It's Baby Driver. So I've
heard good things about this. That I didn't think it was going to be good, but I've heard it's great.
So the thing with it is, Scott Pilgrim is probably one of my favorite movies now. And it is an Edgar Wright movie. And I like other things he's done, like Shaun of the Dead's okay. Hot Fuzz is a really good movie.
It's so funny.
I have mixed reactions to his work. But this is a movie that Edgar Wright has wanted to make for a really long time. And I remember the first time I saw Scott Pilgrim, I came out of it like, yeah, that was good. Like, I think that was good. I think that was interesting. I think I like it. And that is the exact feeling I came out of Baby Driver with, which, if history repeats, that means that Baby Driver might become one of my favorite films. I don't feel like that right now. Like, I don't feel like that at the moment. I just watched this the other night, and there are so many levels of things going on in this movie that I feel like, to really understand it and like get a good read on it, I probably need to watch it 2 more times at least, if not more. But it's not a musical, but it's kind of a musical because the entire thing is set to a soundtrack. It's like one of the narrative devices because he always has his headphones in. He's always listening to music when he's driving and when he's doing other stuff too. And so the whole thing is coordinated to the soundtrack, but there's not really people singing that much. It's not actually a musical.
Right.
And
it's scored more than a musical, I guess. It's soundtracked, but not musical. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's its own thing. And it really works for it. They do some super cool things. So when I was watching this, my kids were asleep and my wife had gone to bed early and I was watching it. So I was using the Roku remote where you can plug in a headphone. Like, it has the headphone jack on it.
Oh, yeah.
So I had headphones in watching this. And they do really cool things with stereo sound that I would have missed if I just watched it on the TV. So I'm really glad I did, because there are times in the narrative where like he'll pull out one headphone or somebody else will pull out one of his headphones for one reason or another. And when that headphone comes out, the soundtrack is only playing in one of your ears if you're listening to it. So it's like you're getting the sound that he's getting. It's really, really cool. So Baby Driver, I like it. I like it for sure. I don't know if I love it yet, but it has potential to be really cool. So this is one that I actually want to spend time to go back and rewatch. Does that give you enough of a feel for it?
Yes, and I've heard such good things about it. Like, that's exactly the kind of thing I needed to hear about it, because I couldn't remember a lot about it from what the trailers were and everything, but I remembered, I wanted to see this. And I actually forgot it was Edgar Wright.
Yeah, I think that it didn't do as well as they wanted it to necessarily, but I also think the title probably hurt it more than anything else. Like,
probably
it came out around the same time that Boss Baby came out, and then you have a movie called Boss Baby that's like a kid's movie, and then you have a movie called Baby Driver, and that honestly probably hurt it more than anything else. It's good. The other thing I watched that I just watched last night was Star Trek Discovery. I don't have a whole
Is it
lot.
on?
Well, yeah, it just came out like on Sunday. We're recording this
Holy
Tuesday
cow.
night, so I watched it
Did
Monday
not know
night.
that.
It has potential. I don't have a lot of firm feelings about it. There are 2 episodes out right now. They released both of them on the same day, and they feel like setup and world building for what the series is about to become, because there's definitely a shift that happens right at the end of the second episode that kind of shifts it into the mode the rest of the series is going to be about. So I don't know. I think it has potential, but I want to watch at least one more episode. I feel like if I watch episode 3 next week, I will have thoughts about it. So I'll report back next week after I watch that one. The other thing, I played Destiny 2 a lot. I've probably put 40-ish hours into it, maybe more than that, honestly, and I'm kind of done with it. Like, I did all the single-player content, I did all the matchmaking content multiple times. I'm in, like, the 270s for power level, and there's not really a path forward outside of scheduling raids with people on Nightfalls, which just doesn't work with my life, or doing one of these few narrow paths that only open up once per week to earn these like big rewards, right? It's the only way to power up after you get to about 260, which is kind of like the soft cap at the moment for single player. It's just frustrating because suddenly all the things I liked about the game, I am now disincentivized to do. I'm only incentivized to do these few things once a week, and then if you finish it, don't do that anymore because it's a waste of time. And everything else is like, oh, you don't have a friends group and a schedule that works for this? Well, I guess you just have to wait. So part of this is me getting frustrated with the structure. And then part of it is just, I'm just not an MMO player. Like, I like to beat games and then move on to the next game. You guys know that by now. So a game that never ends is not, I don't know. It just doesn't work for me long term. So Destiny 2, putting it on hold until it comes out on PC and I have people to play with again. And then I'll probably do a similar thing until like the first expansion comes out.
And that's honestly kind of how I'm feeling about it right now. I don't care about Destiny anymore. I can't. I just don't like it right now, and I'm really feeling a bunch like buyer's regret on this one.
Oh, see, okay, so I should say, I do not feel buyer's remorse at all. Like, I got my money out of this game. I love the single-player game. I loved all of the content the first time through. Like, the whole single-player content, I got my money's worth out of this game. And it still is one of the best moment-to-moment shooters out there. Like, all of those statements are still completely true. It's just that I've hit the cap of what I can do with my life and, like, fitting games into my life. And I'm not going to radically change it to become a raider. So I just have to step away from it now.
And I honestly think that Destiny raids aren't nearly as... And I've only watched videos, don't get me wrong. And I don't think Destiny raids are as engaging as some of the other kind of MMO raids, that if I were going to do something, I don't feel like this would be as tactical as some of the other more strategic RPG games. And maybe that's just me, but
I think that's just you. I know Destiny players that would fight you on that for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure they would. And like I said, I've only seen videos of it, and I've never done one myself, but that was just my impression from those, which is one of the reasons that I just don't feel like first-person shooters are my thing. And I keep trying, and I want to like them.
I don't think they are. I think that's the main thing. Well, okay, let me tell you about a better game then. Well, not a better game, but maybe a better game for you. Have you played or seen or heard about Project Octopath Traveler?
I saw a very little bit of it at Austin's house. He had the demo downloaded, and I saw him do some of the battles. I saw him show some of the overworld that as we went through, but he was playing Kingdom Hearts, and really I got a demo of the demo just to see, and he told me, like, this is going to be a really good game, and that he told me a little bit about the story and how you do it. But I can't remember exactly what the Octopath is, because I know there's like 8 characters that you interact with who are going through the same story.
So it's 8 characters, and they have different stories in the same world at the same time, from what I can tell. And I assume that at some point their paths start to cross and you start to like build parties, but that hasn't really been spelled out. The demo is just the start of 2 of them, and you can do both of them and see kind of the intro part of their path and their quest. So I did both of those, and I like this. Like, it's by the Bravely Default team. Some of the battle mechanics are kind of still showing from Bravely Default, but not in a bad way. And yeah, I mean, there are really cool systems in Bravely Default, and if the systems expand on what I saw in the demo, there will be in this game too. And then the other thing is that like the art style is super cool. It's like pixel characters in like a fully like fleshed out 3D-ish world that has some weird
It looks
tilt
like
shift.
a PlayStation 1 RPG.
No, like it has tilt shift, like it's using the power of a modern system. Like it doesn't, I mean, the character models, yeah, maybe they look like a PS1 or like a Super
that's what I
Nintendo.
mean. Just the way that they have the art design and the way the world moves around, like the way that you kind of explore, it looks kind of like the way a PlayStation 1 game would look now, if that makes any sense.
Maybe, yeah. They're doing other cool things with the tech, though. Like it's a unique art style at the moment. You should probably look up a video.
Right.
But there was enough there that I know that I'm going to get this game and that I will probably really like this game. There's also hints of like really mature storytelling, not in a bad way. Like in a, hey, maybe this will actually be interesting and not just like E for everyone. Like maybe they're actually going to get into some issues here that will be compelling. So I'm going to get this game. For sure.
Yeah, that was kind of the way. He said he's not sure if he's going to get the game, and a lot of it will depend on how much it costs when it's released.
Yeah, I can see that. But for me, I'm going to buy it. I know I will. The one game that I bought and played and beat all within like 2 days was SteamWorld Dig 2, and it's because I loved it. Like, it is fantastic. I liked the first game. I played it on PS4? Yeah, PS4.
Okay.
And this is the second one, and it's out on Switch. And at this point, I've loved all 3 of the SteamWorld games. But it's just like they expanded on the platforming and the challenge level of the game. They added a bunch of new tools and stuff, but there's still the core of like exploring and digging deeper and like finding and like mining minerals to like get weapon. Well, the core is like you're trying to get to the next point on the map, right? And to do that, you need good enough gear to be able to keep digging down because it gets harder the farther you dig down. So you want to defeat enemies, you want to like mine as you're going down so that you get resources that you can go up and sell to then use to upgrade your gear. And that's kind of the core loop of it. But on top of that, it's just a really good platformer. And I love really good platformers. So SteamWorld Dig 2 gets my rousing endorsement, probably like a 10 out of 10 game. I love that game. It was fantastic, even though it was, I don't know. Like I said, I played the first one, so I went into it pretty skilled in terms of like this particular world, and I'm good in general at platformers. It took me about 5 hours to beat this game. I could probably do it in less now if I went through again, but I think it would take a little bit more than that for just most people. The other thing, last thing, I upgraded to iOS 11 because I was having issues with like my iMessage signing in one day, and it had been about a week. So I knew there weren't any giant issues going on with iOS 11. I always wait a little bit because you never know if there's a bug they didn't catch.
And I truly didn't know that iOS 11 was out yet.
Well, you were traveling.
Like I had no clue about this.
Yeah, so it was out, and like I said, I gave it about a week. No big issues that I had heard of, and I was having trouble with my iMessage. So I was like, well, I know if I upgrade to the latest OS, it always prompts you to re-sign into everything and like reassociate your phone. I was like, okay, well, that'll probably fix the issue. So I upgraded. I did that. Overall, I like iOS 11. It added some new features, none of which is groundbreaking, but it does seem to be faster for me. I'm on an iPhone 6 right now, and the battery life on my phone seems about the same as it did before, maybe slightly better, honestly, but it's not like, sometimes you upgrade to a new version and you're just like, oh my God, my battery's gone. That did not happen with this one.
Yeah.
So that's good. The bad thing is that with every major numbered iOS update, they typically will touch their own Apple programs, even if they haven't in a long time, like the default built-in programs. So they upgraded the podcast app, and I should put air quotes around upgraded. They made the podcast app that I use every single day. I'm subscribed to 70 plus podcasts at the moment. They made it completely unusable for me.
Just because of the way that you use it, right?
No, it's unnavigatable. Like, it does not make sense what they did with lists. There's no easy place to go to see all of your unplayed things that you have like downloaded ready to go. Like, the one thing that a podcast app should do, you just need a clean list of unplayed podcasts. Hopefully you can sort it, but on Apple you can't always, just because of the way they are. And what they have instead is they have a playlist that's a combination of episodes that are unplayed, which are the ones that I would actually want to listen to, ones that are recently played, which if I already listened to it, why are you putting it back into this playlist? And ones that are saved that used to be in this other section, like away from things. and episodes that you partially listened to, even if you marked it as played, like one time 3 years ago after listening to 5 minutes of it. Like, it's just, it was completely broken and unusable for me, especially because I managed like 70 podcasts, right, that I listened to. So not only that, it broke all of my muscle memory for that app. Right? Like every day, like I reach for my phone when I'm in the car. I don't have to look at it to like skip around or pick a different episode or change settings. Yeah. Like I have muscle memory for this app. All of that is broken. And it's just confusing and frustrating. So about a year ago, I had looked at Overcast and I said, this is awesome. This is actually probably superior to the native podcast app. This was at the time a year ago. But I don't want to take the time to migrate all my podcasts over.
Right. That's totally understandable.
iOS 11 breaking the podcast app was what I needed to make myself migrate. So I took like 2 hours probably to like move every single podcast over, resubscribe in this other one, mark the latest ones as played that I had already listened to, get my playlist exactly where it was before I upgraded to iOS 11. And then I took a little bit of time to poke around in Overcast, and I was like, oh yeah, now I remember why I like this. There are so many features in that app that are amazing that other podcast apps should steal but haven't yet. There are things like Smart Speed, where so not only so like on iOS you can listen to podcasts at like 1 time speed, 1.5, 2, or 3. I think those are the only options. Maybe there's like a 0.5 also for some reason. But in Overcast, it gives you much more granularity. You can go to many points in between those. So if you can only listen to something at like 1.75 speed, like you could do that, or like 1.7 speed. Like there's more options there. The other thing is this Smart Speed option, where it will crank up the speed to basically skip any silences in a podcast. So like I try really hard for our podcast to edit out any awkward pauses, and mostly they happen because we're recording over the internet, right? Like it takes a second for me to hear you and respond. Whereas if we were in the same room, that doesn't happen as often. But a lot of other people don't do that when they edit their podcast. Like I try really hard to get away from those. And
yeah, of course.
So there are podcasts I know that like, oh, I like to listen to it, but it drags on a little too much. It could be edited better. This basically edits it on the fly to get rid of all of those with the push of a button. Like literally you turn it on one time and it just works. And then there's...
See, now I really like Pocket Cast, but I don't know if it does that.
Well, there's another thing that you can turn on that's it's like voice, it calls it like voice smoothing, but basically what it does is it evens out the levels of everyone's voices, which is another thing that I manually do for our podcast that other people don't always do. And so if you ever listen to a podcast where someone's really loud and someone's really quiet, this evens that out for you. It makes everybody level. And on top of all this, you can set them globally, but then on every individual podcast, you can flip a switch and you can set up custom parameters for that podcast. So if it's one where people are talking with a different accent and you can only listen to it at 1.5 speed, you can set that for just that podcast and it won't affect your global settings. Or if it's one where the voices are way off, turn on, volume leveling for that one, but not everything if you want.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is it has playlists that you can customize however you want. There are so many different ways to customize playlists that I'm not even going to get into them right now, but I've started making my own playlist and I'm already like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't do this before. Like, so 100%, if you guys are upgrading to iOS 11 and you listen to as many podcasts as I do and you're feeling that frustration, go get Overcast. Like, I can't even hesitate to recommend that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've downloaded it a couple of times, ended up liking Pocket Cast UI better, and but I may give Overcast a shot because I haven't migrated. I don't listen to nearly as many as you do. I only grab a handful here and there, so it'll be good for me to try it out. It won't be a hard.
Yeah,
won't be a hard transition.
I'm literally subscribed to one podcast in the native app now, and it is ours. And that is only so that I can make sure that it goes up correctly. Everything else is out of that app. So I am all in on Overcast now, and I love it. I already love it. So thank you. Thank you for letting me get that off my chest. I feel better.
Yep.
Yeah. That's about it for this week. You can write to us with comments, suggestions, or feedback. Our email address is geek2geekcast@gmail.com, or reach us on Twitter @geek2geekcast. We also have longer discussion threads on the subreddit at reddit.com/r/geek2geekcast.
And we're on Slack too now, so you can go to slack.geek2geekcast.com and grab your invite. And remember, folks, we're part of a podcast network, so you can head on over to geek2geekcast.com to see if any of our shows tickle your fancy and listen to everything.
I blog blog at agreenmushroom.com, and you can find me at grnmushroom. That's green mushroom without the E's on Twitter.
And I'm on Twitter as at Professor Beej. That's Beej with 2 E's. And I sometimes blog at geekfitness.net.
We've been Void and Beej with your Geek podcast. That'll do it for this week. See you next week, geeks.
Beej is back. All right.
Hey everyone, I'm Katie.
And I'm Chelsea, and we're the hosts of the podcast
Tea Time with Katie and Chelsea.
We are two best friends who love pop culture. We try to have a female perspective on things, but we really just talk about anything we like. What are some recent topics we've done, Katie?
Well, we've talked about girl power songs, Wonder Woman, Veronica Mars, young adult fiction novels, San Diego Comic-Con, and so much more. So grab your cup of tea or whatever your drink of choice is and download our podcast on iTunes or Stitcher and start listening today.